Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. We're only a few weeks into 2018, and already many will be starting to give up on those well-intended New Year's resolutions. But one thing that everyone needs to prepare for is the days of life consisting of school, college, work, retire are disappearing. In fact, they've probably already disappeared, because every day should now be a school day. And like it or not, we must all continuously learn and adapt in an age of hyperchange if we really want to thrive and survive. Now, technology is causing careers, training and a workforce to evolve, and working adults today are facing the need to reskill or change careers. And today's guest believes that we need to make it easier for people to gain those new skills at all levels of any career in any industry. So to meet this demand, a company called Coursera has become the world's largest EdTech company. They've got over 28 million learners around the world and 150 university partners and more than 2,000 courses. So let's find out more by beaming your ears all the way to Mountain View so we can speak with Jeff Maggioncalda, who's going to tell us about how Coursera is redefining higher education by providing universal access to content and credentials from the world's best universities. So, a massive warm welcome to the show. Could you tell me a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Jeff Maggioncalda. I am the relatively new CEO of Coursera. And Coursera is a company that's about almost 6 years old now. We are a higher education company using technology to basically make high-quality education available to everybody. The company was started by a couple of Stanford professors in computer science, Daphne Koller and Ng. And Andrew is one of the very famous machine learning people who is a bit of a celebrity in the circles of AI. And they were just teaching courses at Stanford. And there's a lot of demand. There's oversubscription of the courses. Not all the students could fit. So they said, we should put these courses online and make this available to more people. Well, 100,000 students showed up from around the world. And they said, there's a real demand for learning. And think about it, the cloud wasn't really super available. Low-cost bandwidth, low-cost storage, low-cost compute is relatively new. And so they started Coursera to basically create a platform where the top universities in the world can publish courses to anyone who might want to learn about almost anything. Now, the company has certainly evolved over time. But our job at Coursera is to, we say, transform lives through learning.
Now, you said it's evolved over time now. I mean, that's been quite humble because I believe that Coursera is now the world's largest EdTech company with 28 million learners around the world, 150 university partners, and more than 2,000 courses. But for anyone listening that are new to Coursera, can you just offer a bit more of an overview of what Coursera is and also what makes it so unique from all those other EdTech solutions out there at the moment?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that really makes it unique is it's an open platform. So it's available to anybody in the world. And we just crested 30 million learners, over half of whom are not in North America. So it really is a global learning platform. The courses that are available, you mentioned there's over 2,000 courses. They come from the top universities in the world, in North America, in Europe, in Asia. And so I think we have some of the best content. We have more learners than anybody. And then recently, we've done a couple things that have continued to expand our mission of trying to provide world-class education to everybody. One is that we launched what we call Coursera for Business. This was about a year ago, where we saw a lot of companies saying the world's changing very quickly, and the nature of jobs and the nature of my business, the way my customers behave, the competition that I'm facing, the way that my supply chain works, it's all being transformed by data and technology, and my people don't have all the skills they need. Can I use Coursera at my company to educate my own employees? And so we started basically offering this platform not only to individuals, kind of B2C around the world, but now also selling Coursera into businesses. And so in the first year, we have been hired by over 500 companies including over 20 of the Fortune 500, to start transforming the talent within their companies using this cutting-edge teaching platform and this top-quality content from our partners. So that's one of the big things we've done is this Coursera for Business. And then another one is that we were originally just offering courses, and then we started bundling them up. We offered something called a specialization, which is like 5 courses that really helps you master a skill rather than just take a single course. Well, we have our first, in December, we have our first graduating class of MBA students at University of Illinois who have taken a fully accredited MBA totally online on Coursera. So University of Illinois is now issuing MBAs, full exact duplicates of the MBA for $20,000 that you can do at your own pace. And it's available to anyone in the world. And you don't have to go on campus. There are on-campus activities if you want to, but it's totally available to anybody. And so we're really excited because courses are a great way to get started, but to really have an impact, still a lot of people want to have that university credential.
That's phenomenal, incredibly exciting. I mean, I love how the story behind Coursera as well is not just around technology or EdTech, but around 2 Stanford professors on a mission to provide access to quality education to anyone and anywhere. And because we've got listeners to this show, and I think over 160 countries at the moment, I think that's just a great message to send out. But can you expand on that core belief that took you to where you are today?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of what it really comes down to, I think in the beginning with Daphne and Andrew, it was, we are professors. A lot of people want to take the courses we're teaching. It's these types of skills are going to be more important in the future. We really just want to teach at scale. I think what has evolved is a bigger and I think deeper challenge that the world is facing, that Coursera has sort of opened up and expanded to attack. And it's really the nature of change. The world is changing so fast. And a lot of this is because of technology. Technology is changing the way people communicate. It's changing the nature of jobs. A lot of reports are talking about artificial intelligence and robotics eliminating jobs and creating new jobs in this wake. So I think technology has been one of the big things that has been changing faster and faster. And frankly, globalization has as well. We're now able to, largely because of broadband and more sophisticated supply chain logistics, we're able to utilize workforces that are global in nature. Well, when you have technology changing the way people work and globalization, which is changing jobs around the globe and exploiting labor markets that didn't have a lot of economic opportunity, it creates a lot of dislocation. It creates opportunity, but it also creates a lot of dislocation. And in order to keep up and not be left behind, almost every adult in the world will need to learn for the rest of their lives. I think, we came from an era where the world was changing much more slowly. As a younger person, you get educated, you get your university credential, and that's it. Kind of you're done with your education, and now you work. And you work until you retire, and then, great, you retire. I think what's happening now is that you'll certainly, of course, learn when you're young, but you'll continue to learn as you work, because the nature of your work and the skills that you need to do your work will always be a moving target, will always be evolving, and in fact, at a more rapid rate. So a lot of what Coursera is really set up to do now is to solve what I think is one of the biggest problems in the world, which is how do you help people keep up in a world that is changing so quickly?
Absolutely, especially now we're entering the digital transformation. And yes, technology will remove jobs, but it will also create a whole new range of new roles and new jobs as those old roles retire. And that's the one point there that a lot of companies miss. It's how do we educate and bring the staff along for the ride rather than just cast them aside, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And to my point around Coursera for Business, it's possible to conceive of a world where an employer says, hey, I'm going to need new skills. My current employees don't have them. I'll fire them and hire a bunch of, other people who already have those skills. There is such a rapid change in the skills that are being needed and the number of people that have them that companies cannot fire and hire their way out of the problem. They're going to have to re-educate their people. And I think it's one of the reasons why Coursera for Business is growing so rapidly is I think companies have realized in order to stay competitive, they can't just bring in all new employees. They're going to have to transform the skills and capabilities of the people at work. And I think this is a great service to individuals, because especially for people who are used to kind of going to school when they're younger and then not really knowing, like, what classes do I take? Where do I take these classes? How can I afford to do this? How do I make time for this in a world where I have children and I have a job and I've got a busy life? This idea of very low-cost, self-paced learning at work, often paid for by your employer, I think really is a model of what the future will look like for adult learning.
Now, like you said a few moments ago in the conversation, you took the reins fairly recently at Coursera, but you were previously the founding CEO of Financial Engines, which was a fintech company helping ordinary individuals invest their savings for 18 years. And you helped make that company go public. But do you think we get hung up on terms such as EdTech or fintech? And essentially, it's just technology and how we can use it to improve or actually remove friction or pain points from any industry.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think as technology continues to play a bigger and bigger role in our society, and in commerce and in almost all politics, communication, and it's not always good, by the way. I am absolutely not a sort of a technology utopian. I think there's a lot of very problematic issues that arise along with technology. Mm-hmm. But technology does offer a new way of addressing problems. And so what I've always really enjoyed is trying to find really, really big problems that matter to people, and then trying to think about, to your point, like, how could we use technology to solve this problem in a way that hasn't been solved before? So at Financial Engines, which was also started by two Stanford professors, one was a Nobel Prize winner in economics, the problem that we went after there, we founded the company in 1996. The problem we went after there was retirement savings for baby boomers in the U.S. So we have something called a 401k plan, and it was a big shift from a world where companies and Social Security were going to take care of everybody when they're retired, to a world where companies started saying, you know what, we're not going to promise you a pension. You have to save your own money. You have to invest your own retirement savings. And guess what? If you don't have enough at the end of the day, that's your problem. We're not going to bail you out. So a huge responsibility shifted over to individuals, but they didn't know how to invest or how to save. And so what Financial Engines did was it used technology to deliver high-quality, personalized investment advice to millions of people. And Financial Engines has now become the largest independent investment advisor in America. It's one of the things you can do with technology is create massive scale. I think there's something very similar at Coursera, which is the ability to deliver the highest quality education at scale, using technology like broadband. And it's not all just broadband and video. At the MBA program I mentioned at University of Illinois, they have live seminars, global seminars with the students, hundreds and hundreds of students, all video conferencing in live seminars with breakout groups, student questions, live faculty engagement. It is a real university classroom environment facilitated with technology that again, was not really feasible 5 or 10 years ago. So technology does create a lot of problems and challenges for society, but at the same time, it offers incredibly powerful ways to solve problems that emerge. And
you mentioned scale there. I mean, if we were to look at the broader employment landscape, how do you see that rise of massive open online courses helping or improving training for businesses? I mean, do you think it goes beyond the data protection and health and safety courses that everybody dreads in the workplace?
Yeah. I do. Certainly the compliance has been a very good business for a lot of the early distance learning or e-learning companies. And one of the reasons is people have to take it. They're forced to take these classes. Yeah. And oftentimes the companies make time to take the courses. Now they're often, the quality's not always really high because they know they got a captive audience who's compelled to do it. But I do think it goes far beyond compliance. I think compliance are the things that you're forced to learn because regulators in your country or your employer said you have to learn these things. I think that kind of compulsory learning is not shifting, that will always, I think, be there. But it is becoming more and more required to learn not just about compliance, but about data, about statistics, about the way that you might do digital marketing, about the way that supply chains work, about even things like customer service or leading in a digital age or doing competitive analysis. Or even ways to use social media in business with your employees or with your customers. So there's a lot that needs to be learned beyond compliance that I think companies are realizing is becoming mission critical because their competition is changing quickly and their customers are changing quickly. And if you have a business where your competition is changing quickly and your customers are changing quickly and you're not, you've got a problem. So I think that sort of massively open courses that go from courses all the way up to credentials like degrees will be a really relevant part of the workplace learning experience well beyond compliance.
No, I completely agree. Now, we are at that time of year, though, where many people will begin to reflect on life and might want to make a few changes in their own lifestyle for 2018, maybe learn a new skill or enroll in a new course. Yep. So I'm curious, is this traditionally a busy time of year for you? And are you helping both individuals and businesses evolve during the digital transformation? And are there any trends or themes that you're noticing?
Yeah. So so with respect to seasonality, we typically see a very big uptick in enrollments and learners in the beginning of the year. I think it is sort of that New Year's resolution and people thinking about, where do a lot of this is very future oriented. I mean, a lot of what learning is about is gaining some ability to some degree transform yourself so that your future looks different than it did in the past. You say, I've got new opportunities because I know new things. So I think as people think about what the future might hold, learning is very much a part of that optimistic, forward-looking thinking that people often do at the beginning of the year. So we do see an uptick we see typically a downtick during the holidays, and then an uptick in the new year. And the kinds of things that people seem to be gravitating towards more. So we have over 2,400 courses, but there's a lot of focus on data science, statistics, things like that. There's a lot, and also like applied statistics like machine learning and things that are having to do with artificial intelligence, a lot of digital marketing, stuff like that. There's a lot on technology. So one of our most popular courses is Python for Everybody. It's the University of Michigan course. It's, a lot of people are like, hey, I'd like to learn how to program. Well, guess what? It's not that hard now. I mean, the courses, the tools, being able to program in Python compared to being able to program in assembly language, 30 years ago, it's a totally different ballgame. It's much more accessible. And now you can do it online. And for the most part, you could take these courses for free. If you want the certificate, you pay about $49 for a course and about $49 a month for a subscription if you're doing to a specialization. But if you just want to audit the course, you can do it for free. And so I kind of say to the listeners out there, there's no excuse. Even if you're not sure what you want to learn, go to Coursera, take a look at the catalog, see if something interests you. And another thing I've learned, especially as it comes to the future and people imagining what they can become, a lot of times it can be intimidating. It's, I can't do that. I can't get a college degree. I can't learn how to program. That's all passed me by. Sometimes just one little baby step to start. Just start. Go take a look at what's in the catalog. There's a course, literally, it's called Python for Everybody. It's introductory programming. You don't have to pay a dime. Just enroll. Just try it out. See what you think. Maybe you're going to like it. It's an introductory course, and from there you can do all kinds of great things. But you don't have to say, I'm going to become a computer programmer. Just say, I'm going to go to Coursera and see what's available. Now, when you also asked a question about businesses, we do definitely help businesses not only provide the content and learning experience, but also think about what competencies will their businesses need over the next 5-10 years. And so we've seen a lot of uptake. It's not so seasonal with the businesses, but it is very industry specific. So we see a lot of financial services firms hiring Coursera because they live in a world where almost everything is data. It's a digital experience from their customers. They're not shipping products around the world, and they're using data to assess risk, create mutual fund products and other types of investment products. So it's a very data-rich experience and a very data-rich product. So a lot of financial services, a lot of telecom companies. We have a lot of technology companies. And we even have folks like L'Oreal in France, a big cosmetic company, a lot of consumer packaged goods, because consumer preferences are changing quickly. With social media, the way that new brands are being created and the way competitions kind of come, some of these boutique, niche little competitors are coming out of the woodworks. Even more established consumer packaged goods companies are realizing that there's a whole new data fluency that their employees are going to need as well. And we help them figure out what those competencies are.
Now, all this talk of technology, and of course you've been in the tech industry, a question I feel compelled to ask, and I suspect I know what your standpoint will be, but what do you think about the recent news around the FCC voting against net neutrality and your biggest concerns about that decision?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I'd rather that they preserve net neutrality. To me, it is a utility that we have evidence from 30 million people that when you make something like broadband equally available, a lot of the people that benefit are the ones who didn't have a chance before. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the access. Now, to me, it's sort of a jewel of humanity. When you can give everybody an equal chance, that's something really special. I don't know what's going to happen under a regime where the net neutrality laws have changed. I mean, because you also think that in many cases capitalism does a pretty good job. Not in every case by any stretch, but it's not clear. And this is just sort of me talking, but when marginal costs are very, very, very low and you have decent competition, you can get very low cost services to a lot of people. And a lot of competition has spurred on that kind of thing, where when you have something that at scale has very low marginal cost, you do get really good access. You also typically get premium services for people willing to pay. It might be the case that the competition levels are high enough and the marginal costs are low enough and the networks are already sort of in place that people can't monopolize it, and we'll see a combination of very broad availability plus premium services. But where I come at it mostly is it's a risk that we're taking, that people lose that equal opportunity. And to me, that is just it's something very precious that the internet has been able to provide for the world, and I'd rather not jeopardize that. I think hope is not all lost, but I wish it weren't going in this direction.
Yeah, me too. But here we are in 2018, coupled with Coursera's recent 800 million valuation. What would be your primary focus this year? And also, what is your grand vision for Coursera?
Yeah, so I'll start with the grand vision, then we'll go back to sort of what 2018 is looking like for us. I think the vision really starts with what we want to achieve in the world. So the way that we think about it is the world is changing rapidly. Many people have been and will continue to be left behind. Mm-hmm. And one of the wonderful opportunities here in a world that's moving more digital, is more about a knowledge economy and not sort of backbreaking physical labor, is that everybody has a brain. Now, they don't all have equal educational training in their past, but there is now an ability for everybody to get a much more level shot at getting smart on new skills. And so I think the grand vision is to make Coursera the world's learning platform, where anybody anywhere can learn the types of skills to give themselves the types of opportunities to create wonderful lives for themselves and their families. And what that really requires, in my opinion, is a business that brings together a learning ecosystem of learners, and we want to have hundreds of millions of learners. Today we have about 30 million. We're just getting started. We want to have hundreds of millions of learners. You have to have all the content, high quality content that teaches people the kinds of skills and competencies they need. We have over 150 university partners, and now we're bringing on industry partners, firms like Google and Cisco and IBM, who are authoring courses that people can take as well. So it's not just universities. It is universities and industry publishing content to help people learn. So you've got the learners, you've got the educators, and then you've got the employers. And I think that the employers are a critical part of this learning ecosystem, because for adults at least, most people learn because they want to advance their careers and create more opportunities for themselves and their families. And so tying that learning to earning, so that there's a career benefit to what I'm learning, is really important. And I think a big part of Coursera for Business is about getting us really close to businesses so we know the kinds of skills that they're looking for, and we can actually help our learners get hired by our enterprise customers. So sort of the grand vision is become the world's learning platform, hundreds of millions of individuals, the best courses worldwide, and thousands of employers hiring our learners because they've got the skills that these employers are looking for. In terms of 2018, we're very excited about our degrees program. I think the MOOCs have done a wonderful job opening up access, right? Providing access at very low cost, in fact, free, to most people. I was down in Mexico at a Congress on higher learning, higher education. And it was really wonderful to talk to people who are often in rural settings. They don't have, their data plans can be kind of expensive. They don't have a lot of disposable income. Coursera can be downloaded onto any cell phone and while you're on Wi-Fi. And you can watch all the courses and you can do everything on a cell phone. You don't need a laptop. You don't need a computer. You don't even need a data plan. You can go to a Wi-Fi location, download Coursera, and take these courses on your phone. That kind of access, I think, is thrilling, and that's a great part of what these MOOCs brought us. But we're taking the MOOCs, making them very high access, and now we're adding more impact through degrees. And these are $20,000. They're not free, but $20,000 compared to the equivalent would be over $100,000. So they're less than a fifth the price, and you don't have to uproot your family and move on campus. You can do it from where you are while you're at work. You could be advancing your career's prospects. And so 2018 will be a lot about getting hired by more employers and really building out this degrees learning experience and getting more degrees on the platform. We think there's a real opportunity there.
And that's got to be much cooler than just watching cat videos and Instagramming your food, right?
Absolutely. It's certainly more lucrative.
Now, before I let you go, can I ask you to point the listeners of where they can find information about anything that we've discussed today, stay up to date with future announcements, or equally just contact a member of your team if they've got any questions about our conversation?
Absolutely. Coursera.org is the best place to go. We have a blog, the Coursera blog. I think we typically post links to all these types of things. So I imagine we'll basically just be linking to the podcast and other recordings that we have from this. But yeah, Coursera is the place to go, and you'll find a lot of great courses. And who knows, maybe the answer to your New Year's resolution is at Coursera.
Fantastic. Well, a huge thanks for coming on today. One of the things that I love here, come such a long way since those two Stanford professors with a mission to provide access to quality education anywhere in the world. And you're doing just that. So a big thank you for taking that time today to come on and share that story.
Thank you, Neil. I really appreciate it.
I love Jeff's outlook here. There really is no excuse to not learn that new skill or obtain that new qualification. Especially now, you don't even have to leave your home to obtain a degree. So what is everyone waiting for? I genuinely hope that today's episode will inspire some of you to seize opportunities that technology is now making accessible to everyone. Because the fact that Coursera has 28 million learners around the world across 150 plus university partners and more than 2,000 courses really is food for thought. And I was reading their Twitter feed earlier today because I always think it's a good indication of how happy their users are. And the first tweet that I saw was, signed up for a Coursera recently and my inner student nerd has officially been awakened. I generally look forward to the quizzes and I actually look forward to when they interrupt a lesson for a quick pop-up quiz just to make sure I'm paying attention. This got me thinking, when we are comfortable and binge watching TV shows, we're actually holding ourselves back from learning and doing what actually makes us feel alive and makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. And for me, Jeff was one of those guests that oozed passion in everything that he does, and one of those people you just want to be around with that infectious enthusiasm. So I really do hope to hook up with him for a drink, should I ever visit Mountain View, or indeed if he comes over here to the UK. But my next trip to the US is in Feb, where I join Sarah Elkins for the No Longer Virtual Summit in Denver. And I urge you to check that out if you fancy meeting me there, where I will be talking about podcasts, amongst other things. And at the end of the event, I'm also stopping in room 217 of the Stanley Hotel, where Stephen King was inspired to write The Shining, and Jim Carrey didn't even last a full night. So wish me luck on that one. I don't think I've thought that one through properly. But I will report back if I found anything or absolutely nothing. But as for this podcast, please share your thoughts and experiences in this area by emailing me, tweeting me, or even recording an audio voice message. And you can find everything that you should need over at techblogwriter.co.uk/podcast. I do answer every message and tweet, and it is my aim to get to speak to each and every one of you. But all that's left for me to say now, I'm afraid, is a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.